Thank you very much. You are welcome. You
Okay,
can
so
start now.
now we are going to proceed um, to trying to identify the very impactful SLR topics or questions that will um, garner the attention of the academic or scholarly community. Okay, so before this, we have requested for a number of proposed topics, and many people have sent in a number of topics, and these topics have been assessed. And what the outcome of the assessment of these topics is the fact that, just like I said earlier, that some topics are too narrow, some are too broad, some are with unclear directions, while some have good potential of formulating a very nice SLR topic. Okay, so all this must be well considered. For example, if somebody says blue economy advantage, it is without a clear direction, and again, it doesn't have all the components of any of the frameworks. We don't know how this question, how this issue is going to be addressed for in a systematic manner. Is he going to use the PICO approach, or is he using Spider, or what? So all these must be elements that should be identified in any proposed topic. So I've highlighted a topic here that sounds good for a potential SLR topic. The person said the digitalization and the performance of tech-driven entrepreneurial ventures, empirical insights from selected Nigerian startups. So this topic has a very good potential, but it also has some issues that we need to demystify. Okay, so the topic on its own is a very good one. I want the author of this topic, or the originator of this topic, wants to look at the impacts, so to speak, of digitalization on tech-driven entrepreneurial ventures. Very interesting. But the originator of the topic is focusing more on Nigerian startups. But the question is now that, are there, because systematic literature review, the raw material for systematic literature review is what? Published empirical studies. So are there enough public empirical studies that could help answer this question? Because the question is a good question. I want to know. It's a very good one. In fact, when we talk about the context, the setting, the Nigerian setting, so it is what? It looks very novel. So, but novelty is not the only thing. The other thing that needs to be considered is also what? The what is being said, that let your goals be smart, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. So is it actually realistic? Is it attainable? These are also some of the questions we would ask. So one can have a very big goal that, I want to achieve this, and it's a very worthwhile one, but is it actually realistic? So these are the questions we should also ask regarding our topic. And how do we know? We know by doing that preliminary literature review to know if actually in fact, there are some you don't even need to do preliminary. Once you see it, you know that this topic will not fly, because there's hardly, depending on your familiarity with the field, there's hardly empirical studies on this topic that you can actually use to answer this question. So in some situations, what one may do is to expand the scope, but not too wide, to make it too broad. But one may expand the scope to see if there are what? Empirical studies in a broader scope, answering that can help to answer that particular question. So, but this topic on its own is a very good one. So another one I would want to quickly talk about is there's another topic here that says that a systematic literature review on the application of statistical models in disease prediction. So This one is also a good topic, but we cannot identify the elements, the framework that is being used, that this topic is going to be based on. So we need to be able to identify the framework. Okay, what framework? Is it PICO? Is it going to be PICO? Is there any, are we looking at intervention? So statistical models, yes, can be the intervention. Then the outcome of what? Disease prediction. So, but we don't know the population. Disease prediction, is it in humans? Is it in animals? So these are some of the things we need to consider when formulating the topic for the SLR. Okay, so this is also very, very important. So the strategy still remains that one should align the topic with a relevant framework in order to be able to spell out each. And you know, the benefit of this framework is that it also helps in formulating the keywords for the literature search, because the keywords will be framed around the population, the intervention, the comparator, and the outcome. The keywords will be framed around all these. The same thing with Spider. The keywords will be framed around the elements of the framework. So, and that's why it's good to identify, to align your topic with what? With the framework, with the appropriate framework, and break it down to make it clearer and know that this is something that is achievable. Okay, so again, another thing we do is to specify the inclusion and exclusion criteria. Okay, what kind of studies are you including? If for example, we are talking about using statistical models for disease prediction. So in this case, we need to specify the population, maybe in farm animals or in cattle, for example. So if you say in cattle, then you want to, okay, the population is what? Cattle. Even if you are talking about cattle, are you referring to cattle around the world, or you are referring to cattle in a particular region? So all these questions are questions that need to be specified so that you know, okay, what exactly am I including? What am I excluding? And this must be known right from the word go. Okay, so the preliminary check will help to do all this. Then another thing to be done that can help is to look at existing related reviews or systematic literature review. So one is to search and look for existing, because the benefit of doing this is that in your introduction, you are still going to use all these existing reviews. You are going to talk about them, because normally in a research paper, one of the things we do is to do literature review, look at existing works around the topic, try to see what they have done, and try to identify what is left to be done and how you are filling in that gap. So the same thing will happen. So when you identify those SLRs, existing SLRs, you try to see, okay, what are the directions they have taken? What are the things they have done? Or even if they are scoping review, whatever reviews they have. So we want to see what they have done. We want to see what are the gaps in knowledge that they are yet to fill in, and how does your own proposed SLR aims to fill in this gap and answer the unanswered questions. So, and that is why I put up a procedure like this. Okay, when you want to start, you propose a topic. You propose the topic. Is the topic acceptable based on all what we have said? All the considerations we have mentioned earlier. Is the topic a topic that could proceed to the next stage? If not, then you refine the topic. If yes, if it has all the elements of the framework, the PICO, the Spider, and so on and so forth, the PICOs, the PECO, so then you can now look at, you still do the preliminary check to see, okay, is it attainable, is it realistic? And by attainability and reality is, I mean, are there studies, are there raw materials for this review to be executed? So then after that, we check the existing reviews that have been published to see if, okay, if they are yet to answer the questions you are trying to answer. So along the line, formulate your research question, the review questions, and see if they are actually unique or novel. So if that has been done, then you have succeeded in identifying a gap. So identifying the gap, just like I said, you also confirm the feasibility. So, and the confirmation of feasibility is to know if literature is sufficiently tilted in that direction. Then after that, you also formulate well-defined review questions, research questions, so to speak, in quotes, for your review. So then you now proceed to the exhaustive database search. So this will be the next step. But the aim of today's webinar is to be sure that the foundation is well laid for whatever building you are mounting upon it. So the building you are mounting upon it now is after you have confirmed, you have specified your inclusion and exclusion criteria, you have aligned your topic with the framework, you have identified the different elements of the framework as it applies to your study, to your SLR. Then the next thing is to follow the other procedures of searching the databases and replicating your search by using different databases, using different keywords that are relevant to the topic, that are also relevant to each element in the framework, and so on. Then after you have been able to go through this rigor, this is another webinar on its own, searching and bringing out all those things, so which will not be addressed here. But what we still want to address using a demonstration of how to achieve all we have been saying, of how to use AI is what we want to achieve today. So, but before we go there, how many publications are appropriate for inclusion in a systematic literature review? As far as I'm concerned, there's no fixed number, but the fact remains that for high impact publishing, the more the merrier. The more the merrier. That is not to say that certain SLRs cannot have lower numbers of studies, while certain cannot have higher number. But if really you want to get high impact publishing, when you submit an SLR with just maybe 10 papers, the chances that it will be rejected are very high, except probably maybe it's an area that is very, very highly specialized, that is very important, perhaps. Maybe during COVID-19, when people were jumping at publications, so you could quickly fit into the trend of the publication and quickly come up with some number of publications and quickly write something. In those days, many publications were easily accepted that were addressing the pandemic. So, but most likely, if the number of publications involved are too few, then there's higher chance that high impact journals will not find it interesting. So the more, the merrier. So, but most of the time, if you have a minimum of 20, 30, between 20, 30, and 100, they are good numbers. So at least if you have like 20 articles that you critically assess based on well-established research question, well-established topic, aligned very well with the framework, and following the necessary guidelines, that systematic review has a very high chance of being accepted in a high impact journal. Then also, it also depends on the field. Some fields are saturated. There are some fields that there are too many publications in that area. So even if you say, okay, I'm looking at, I have an experience, and that somebody consulted me on a particular SLR, and initially he included a number of papers. And when he consulted, I looked at the topic, I realized that there are too many publications addressing that issue. Although too many empirical works addressing the issue. Although the review was novel. But for you to answer the question you set out to answer, it was important to have more articles, more studies included in that SLR. So if one continues with maybe 10 studies, 20 studies, whereas there are so many studies that fit in to the inclusion and exclusion criteria, then once the editor or the reviewer looks at the topic and just do a simple Google search, you realize that there are so many papers that are left out from the SLR, and that will make it very easy for such a paper to be what? to be rejected, except maybe you now streamline your inclusion and exclusion criteria to reduce the number to that particular number you have ended up with. So this is something that needs to be understood. Okay, so I want us to quickly, let me stop sharing and quickly do some little demonstration with AI. So to identify those things, just like I've said, one of the options that one of the approaches would be to use Google Scholar. We all know Google Scholar as researchers and how well it has been useful in trying to identify relevant studies. So I want to select one of those topics that we have and use it to demonstrate. Okay, so I put them here. Okay, not this one. For this. Okay, sorry. For example, we have a topic that says come in. Okay, let me use digitalization. Okay, so we talk about digitalization. So I put the topic in a Google Scholar. So from the first search, you realize that this topic is too, it doesn't really have much attention in the research space. When you look at it, you see we have only about 203 results. Okay, only 203 results. And another thing I forgot to mention is that when you are considering articles to include, try to make sure that they are articles that are, most of them are indexed at least in Scopus. Most of them are indexed at least in Scopus. At least maybe 80 to 90% of the articles that will be included at the end of the day are indexed in Scopus. Although, unfortunately, some individuals may not have the access because certain institutions subscribe to all these databases, and it may be difficult for some persons to be able to access those databases in order to ascertain the quality of those of those articles. So, but the important thing is that whatever articles one is including, there is somebody who submitted a systematic review recently, and he was told that he should limit, although that is the style of the journal, but he was told to limit his all the included articles to those ones that are indexed in Web of Science. Those ones are even, they are too demanding. He said all the articles included must be only the ones that are indexed in Web of Science. It's a way of defining the quality of the SLR. One may decide that, okay, for this SLR, I'm considering only articles that are indexed in Web of Science. It's fine. Or I'm considering only articles that are indexed in Scopus. But what I'm saying, the point is that let's try to make sure that in the long run, whatever articles we're including, we should try to ensure that most of them, because at times there are some articles that are not indexed in this database, but they are also important. So, but, and we should justify the reason why we are including them. So, but most of the times, we should include those ones that are indexed in some of these, in these databases in order to improve the credibility of the review process. Okay, so looking at this topic, we cannot go through everything, but the first thing is to what? Go through each of these titles. For me, if I go through, good enough, this one is not, it's just 203. And we have about maybe 10 results on each page. So by the time you go 20 times, 20 pages, then you would have exhausted them. So what I usually do is to look at the titles that it brings from the search and see how relevant each of them, having in mind the inclusion and exclusion criteria, the PICO elements. So having that in mind, so you now assess each of the titles one after the other. That's one approach. You assess them one after the other, and you can explore the Google Scholar library to add them to your library. So if you want to add to your library, there's this star sign that has save. So you can click on it and say save, and you add it to your library. Okay, so you can add it to your library. So once you add it to your library, you can come back anytime to assess what you have added earlier. So this is one approach, going through the titles, because I do advise people that before you even read the abstract, try to get a feel of the different titles. From the title, you can have an idea of what you have done. It's only in situations whereby the titles do not give enough information about what the research or the reviewers achieved. That is when you now proceed to looking at the abstract to get a better understanding. So, and doing this will make it easier for you to quickly go through a number of articles. You quickly go through them, try to understand, okay, what have they been doing? So in the process, you try to jot down some information that, okay, these are the areas from what I've seen so far, these are the areas people have really worked on. These are the things they have done. Okay, these are the areas that are yet to be considered. Or, okay, these are the areas most of the research works are looking at. So that can help you to modify your own topic to fit in based on your question, to fit into, in order for you to have enough raw materials for your review. Or it also helps to classify the existing knowledge into different thematic areas. You can now decide, okay, let me focus on this area. Let me try to answer the questions along this area. So it's something that will take time. It's not something that could be done at one single sitting. Something that will require one to go through it over time, try to understand, try to classify, and get a good grasp of the length and breadth of research. So by doing that, you will know that whether that this topic is not really something you can continue with. So, and although it may look stressful that why can't I just take a topic and go straight? So it's better for you to spend that little time to be sure than to do the whole work, and at the end of the day, you find out that the work is not acceptable because you cannot even proceed because there are no raw materials, there are no existing research, or the questions have been answered, they have been overflowed, so there's no need to go for them. So this is very, very important. So the second approach, this is one approach. So you add them to your library, you assess them, then once you are clear that, okay, I can go this way, I can go this direction, then you can now go back and start the proper search. Because this one I'm doing now is like a preliminary search. If you have access to Scopus database, you can also do the same in Scopus to look at or you have access to any other database, you can check. So all these ones will help to identify the different scholarly works. Again, the same way you also search for the existing reviews. So instead of typing the title the way it is, you can also add review. So that keyword review will bring the existing review works and you can also access them. But AI can make the work even simpler. So now I want to, for example, if you want to use AI for that purpose. So one thing we can do is to let me bring a prompt that I just formulated for this purpose. Okay, so I picked one of those topics. I picked another one, the use of honey in the treatment of ulcers. So I want to tell AI to help me check. So I want to say, okay, ChatGPT, I want to write a systematic review on the following topic. Identify the existing reviews, either systematics or otherwise, and map the possible novel questions I could answer with my proposed review without repeating existing works. So the title is what? The use of honey in treatment of ulcers. So this prompt, you can modify it because the use of AI is an iterative process. When you give it this prompt and you see the output or the result, you may need to modify it in order to get even a better result from AI. Okay, so if I submit this question to ChatGPT, what it will do is to scan and look for existing review. But one thing you must note is that AI also has its own imperfections. At times it hallucinates. At times it brings unverified information that is not true, and that is why whatever it is doing for you, it is only a guide. You still need to what? Cross-check and confirm to be sure and take responsibility for it. So okay, I want to submit this question even without going to Google Scholar. But of course, you cannot use AI in isolation. You should also use other approaches to verify what AI is giving you. Okay, so I'll submit this to see what the outcome would be. So it is processing the information, trying to search for the existing review. So it has done it so quickly. So it says, here's an overview of literature, both systematic and non-systematic. So we want to look at the ones that are both systematic and not systematic. So he said, okay, number one, we have systematic reviews. Focus on wounds, because the title is what? The use of honey in the treatment of ulcers. So it has been able to identify 3 systematic reviews here. So according to its own ability, because this one I'm using is the free version. So perhaps maybe when you are using the paid version, it may give you even more information. But this is a very good starting point, even if you don't have the paid version. Okay, so it has given us 3 with the links. So you can easily click on it. You can see the title is showing effectiveness of honey dressing in treatment of diabetic foot ulcer, a systematic review and meta-analysis. So this one kicks out that title immediately, but not entirely. But it shows that somebody has done something similar. So if really you still want to continue, you still need to go and study what the person has done, study what has been done to see perhaps there are gaps. Okay, the second one too is also talking about honey in modern wound care, a systematic review. Then the third one says honey dressing in wound treatment, a systematic review. You can see all these 3 systematic reviews are actually very much in alignment with the title we submitted. So showing that a lot of work needs to be done to actually situate your own systematic review in this space. So systematic, then the second category of reviews that are out there, it says systematic reviews on gastrointestinal ulcers. So it is saying that apart from general consideration for wounds, there's another category that looks at what? Gastrointestinal ulcers. So this is, it has noted 2 reviews like that needs to be checked. Okay, so this is how you look at what has been done. You are able to identify them, and if really you are proceeding with this, all these articles are very important in your introduction section. They are very important to situate your own this in your introduction to show that you know what has been happening, you know what other people have done. You are not just approaching this thing blindly. Okay, so he said other literature. So the third category is okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but
Okay.
the slide is off.
Yes, there's a slight network glitch. Okay, so let me share again.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so
The slide.
okay, so as I was saying, so it is now telling us that we have a number of reviews, both systematic, and narrative addressing this issue. So it now came up with a table to show what has been covered. So the first column is talking about author types, the systematic review, and narrative review. So it's as if there's no scoping review in this area. There's no scoping review so far, or perhaps there may be. Maybe AI decides to leave it out. So this is why one will still need to cross-check all these things on your own. Okay, so is that diabetic foot ulcers? That's ulcer type. So there has been systematic review on it. Pressure ulcers, not systematic. Venous stroke leg ulcers included in wound care reviews, and so on and so forth. Now said gastric stroke peptic ulcers, which is human-based and clinical. There is no systematic review identified. Okay, but there is a narrative review on it. So all these will give you an idea of where you want to position your own research questions, review questions, or your systematic review. So it also went further to tell us gaps and potential novel review questions. Okay, so the first one, he said comprehensive review across ulcer types. This can be a consideration for the originator of this topic that, okay, I want to do a comprehensive review, but if you are doing this, what you should know is that it may take a lot of time because you want to bring together all the works across the team. You have a group of in your research group. You now say, okay, Mr. A, you go and look at diabetic and pressure ulcers. Mr. B, you go and get articles and write on venous and leg ulcers. And at the end of the day, you now bring everything together. But as an individual, it may be very difficult for you to complete this kind of review. So these are the considerations. Again, human clinical evidence for gastrointestinal ulcers. So it's also saying that you can also go for this one, that current evidence is mainly for animals. So you want to go for human clinical evidence for gastrointestinal ulcers. So to do a systematic review on that. So, but this you still need to check, cross-check to be sure, but it's a very good start to give an idea of how to frame your topic, a novel topic, and your research question. Okay, he said honey type and dose comparison. So he said the existing reviews have not really compared the different types of honey and the different doses. So this can also be a consideration for a novel systematic treatment, and so on. You can keep going on and on. So, but the idea is that with the right prompt, AI can help. So based on this, you can still ask further questions to further narrow the gap you are actually looking for. So when you now take this idea from here, you now marry it with your own personal search of maybe Google Scholar, Scopus, and what you have gone through, you can now sit down and design a set of research questions that will definitely be novel at the end of the day and will attract the interest of the academic community at the end of the day when you submit, because the end, what we should have in mind is the end. Always having the end in mind. Okay, if I submit this to a Q1 journal, what are those things they will want to say? What are those things they will consider to either find it attractive or not? And I bet you, if your question is very, very good, even if your critical appraisal is not so good, you can still find a place in the journal because they can tell you, okay, this topic is of very high importance. However, your critical assessment is not well done. If you can improve it, they can give you the opportunity to go back and improve it. But if this particular aspect is found wanting, the journal will not even look at it twice. They will reject it immediately. So the long and short of the matter is that framing the topic, the research questions, I've mentioned all the elements, all the considerations to make sure that it is something that will attract attention, is something that will result in a high impact publishing. So then also it can also be done in a group. It can be two, or you can even do it if you feel you don't have somebody to work with, you can do it alone. from my own experience, when I started working on systematic literature reviews, I realized that when I was learning about it, I realized that they will say that one individual cannot do most of the time for a high impact systematic literature review. A single individual is not expected to do it alone. Maybe most of the time they want you to have replication. Maybe if one person did the search, another person should also do it, then you now bring it together to make it more rigorous. Or one person did the screening, another person also does it, one person did the head. So it makes it more rigorous. But in situations whereby you don't even have choice, you just have to do it alone. It's still possible. Okay, it's still possible. So you can do it. And an approach I came up with is that, okay, since I don't have somebody else to work with me, I replicate some of the processes. For example, the search, the screening, I replicate it. I do it 2 times. I do it the first time over a period of time. After that, after arriving at the final number of articles I want to use, I drop it. After a period of time again, I go through the process again to see if there are new articles I have missed. Even after going through that process, you also try to search randomly to see if you can find other articles. And also there's what we call snowballing, whereby you look for the existing reviews and check their reference section to see if you can find some articles you have actually missed out. All these things should be documented. And if the reviewers read all this, they will know that you have actually gone through a lot of processes, you have followed the rigor to arrive at the necessary. Then again, another thing we should note is that journals are not really, many journals are not really interested in the rigor, too much interested in the rigor you have gone through. Yes, it's very important too. The procedure, the methodology. What they are also interested in, how interesting is your topic? How have you addressed the question? How have you ensured that you covered the length and breadth of the research in that area? This is also very important. So not just I follow the procedure, I've received negative feedbacks on previous systematic reviews I've written that I've submitted severally without success before I got to understand some of these things that even if you say you have followed the Prisma, the PICO, blah, 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 and at the end of the day, your review is not attractive. It's not answering critical questions. It's not something that is the end thing. The likelihood that it's going to be rejected is very high. That's why I keep hammering on this foundation, that identifying a gap, going for something that will stand the test of criticism from editors and journals. So I think with this, we have been able to at least open our eyes in some areas. I know most of us are already scholars carrying out a number of reviews here and there, but I believe a little of this information can also help to up our game, to demystify, just like the title of this webinar, to demystify this process in order to make sure that whatever we set out to do in this regard, we are able to get it to a logical conclusion and make it attractive to the academic community. So I think I'm going to stop here, and I want to appreciate you for your rapt attention. So we are going to open for questions. Okay, over to you, the moderator.
Thank you very much, Dr. Salva, for this wonderful presentation. We would like to open for a brief question and answer session, which will briefly hold for about 15 minutes. The floor is open. You can ask your questions, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Abdurrahman from Somalia, and this is a good presentation of SLR. My comment is not a question. About when you are explaining for SLR using my AI, some students, they always prefer for what AI says. And for me, when you are writing even a small manuscript, AI cannot give you a full correct answer. I mean, a full correct reference, which is not a fake reference. So what I'm just consulting, like, and what we have an issue always as a students, systematic review everyone wants to write. And for me, by writing systematic literature review is an easy research for everyone that can read, because what you are just filling gap is a filling gap which someone else has left. So in my consultation or my comment about the regarding of this, most of the students, they are busy for doing only systematic literature review. And my view, I always like tell to students to do an experimental research work which will help the student to qualify for PhD or masters. Thank you very much. And I really interested this work. So later seminar, we are requesting to systematic literature review and meta-analyze, which are more important than this one. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
Thank you very much for this wonderful point. Do we have anyone with another question or input?
I think I saw a hand up. Somebody raised.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saba, for the insightful presentation. I wanted to ask a question, but I later discovered that meta-analysis was not included, like the first speaker said. So I just have to remove my hand. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Secondly, based on the issue of single source for systematic literature review, I just want to ask, for high impact journal, is it acceptable? Because I know you said that it's acceptable, but I just want to know, for high impact journal, is it acceptable for someone to use only Google Scholar, owing to the fact that Google Scholar has limitation in filtering of some of the articles? Like if you look at other databases, they have other component for you to filter some of the articles that Google Scholar does not have. So is it acceptable for one to use Google Scholar, since it's free, to publish, to source articles for systematic literature review? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for the question. So the first one on meta-analysis. So actually, the focus of this webinar is not meta-analysis. So because systematic literature review is like a precursor, a prerequisite for meta-analysis. So in a meta-analysis, the only thing you just do is to collect quantitative values and analyze them. Yeah. So, but also maybe later on it can still be an opportunity to address meta-analysis. So then, secondly, regarding the single source, the single approach I was referring to is maybe an individual carrying out a systematic, but the one I didn't really talk about is the search databases, right? Search databases. So where you want to get the articles from. So it's always good to use at least 3 to 5, at least three databases. You can use Google Scholar, Scopus, Science Direct, PubMed, and so on. So like the problem most people may face, especially when the institution does not subscribe to Scopus, is that they are left with only the free options. And that's why I would encourage those who are maybe in institutions that are not subscribing to this database to collaborate with colleagues in institutions where the subscriptions are obtainable. So they can now work together. The person in that institution can help to search using the defined keywords and submit the result of the search to the other person. You understand? So this can also help. So, but using Google Scholar alone will not work. From experience, I've realized that no matter how much you search Google Scholar, you will never exhaust the breadth of articles or research works that are available out there. So I think that answers the question. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you very
thank you.
much.
Okay. My name
Another
is
question.
Michael. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Clearly.
you, Michael.
Okay, so thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. I've learned so much. So my question is on the number of articles one has to review or consider when writing this article. My question is taken after screening, after the inclusion exclusion criteria, and then one chooses to take like 10 articles. Is 8 to
Okay.
10 articles enough? Is it good enough for writing a good SLA?
Okay. Thank you very much for the question. So it may be good and it may not be good. So it depends on your inclusion and exclusion criteria. Then it depends on the quality of journals you are targeting. It may be acceptable, but the chances that high impact journals will accept it, I'm not sure. You understand? I'm not sure if many high impact journals out there will accept an SLR with just 10 articles. It may be possible, but the chances are very low because there is competition in this publication space. So if somebody is coming with an SLR with maybe 50 articles, well detailed, compared to somebody who is coming with just 10 articles. So, and that's why one should be very, very tactical in selecting, in framing it right from the beginning. That's why I recommend doing a preliminary search to see before you go through the entire process, and at the end of the day, you end up with maybe 5 articles after screening, searching, doing all this voila. You understand? So, trying to check before commencing will help to modify if need be right from the beginning, and it will help to save a lot of time, and it will increase the chances of getting that work accepted. So I won't say 10 will not fly. It may fly, but the chances are very low from experience. So thank you.
Okay, another question is, continue on this. Does it mean that do I need to state it in my writing, or should it appear in my references? Do you understand? Assuming
State what?
during my searching, I search about
Okay.
50 journals, for example, 50 articles. And at the
Okay.
end of the day, I select 20. So now, should I
Okay.
report the 20 of them, or should I report the whole 50 I assessed before arriving at 20?
Of course, there's what we call the Prisma flow chart or flow
Okay.
diagram. So that
Okay. I
diagram,
have to state it there.
you see the different stages.
Hmm.
When you first started, okay, you search Google Scholar. Okay, these are the articles you got from Google Scholar. When you search, okay, maybe you found 500 in Google Scholar. In Scopus, you find 50. In PubMed, you found 150. You understand? So after that, you now say,
Okay.
okay, after assessing the titles, okay, I excluded maybe out of maybe 1,000 that you found from different databases, you excluded maybe 800 because they are not relevant to your inclusion and exclusion criteria. They are not relevant based on title assessment. So then again, you went further to look at the abstracts. You assess the abstract, you found out that out of that 200, again, you need to exclude maybe 150 again because the abstract has revealed that they didn't actually do what fits with your research questions and so on. So you excluded them. You are now left with 50. And that 50 you went ahead again to read them in depth. You look at the methodology to see if really they fit with your criteria. So out of that 50, maybe some of them are not in English because sometimes one of the criteria is that, okay, you are considering only articles written in English. Okay. So maybe at the end of
Hello?
I think network.
Can't hear you.
Hello, Dr. Saba. Okay, he's back.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Sorry, I'm back.
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
So I don't know what you had last from me.
50 at 50.
Okay, so let's assume you now ended up with 50, and when you go through those articles, you now found out that some of them are not written in English, for example, or some of them are addressing other regions, not in the region you are looking at, or also and so on and so forth. So you can now start excluding them again. But while you are excluding, you should note it that okay, out of 50, I found 15 that are not written in English. I found 10 that did not really address the population I'm looking at, and so on and so forth. That's how you screen them until you arrive at the final number you are actually using for the work. Okay, so that's the process. It's a rigorous process that will take some time, but if one really understands the step by step and you are documenting everything as you get along, I think it will be very easy to get it done in the best way. Okay, so I believe that answers the question, right?
Exactly. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone? I think Osas, right?
Hello.
Yes, carry on.
Hello. I believe I was able to answer that question.
Question. Yes.
Okay. Thank
That
you.
answers my question. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, moderator.
Do we have any other questions? I think our 15 minutes is somehow wrapping up.
Somebody is raising up his hand. Onoha Michael. If I'm not mistaken.
Oh, you
That's
just
the last.
finished talking. Yeah.
That's the last.
Okay. Sorry, one last question, if I'm permitted, please.
Okay, please. Go ahead.
Carry on.
Okay, thank you very much. Your last explanation concerning the filtering of the articles. I came across an article recently, and I discovered that it was stated in the article that the only source that was used for the publication of the SLR is the abstract and only the title that was used to source for that. So
Okay. Okay. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, so it is possible for such to happen, for the source to be only the abstract and the title, but that will still be limited. So it depends on how well you want to answer the question, because there's some information that you won't find in the abstract, that you may only find in the methodology, you may only find in the discussion. So if it is accepted, maybe it depends on the journal, it depends on so it may also be accepted, but what we are saying here is that for high impact publishing, for you to be sure that this thing I'm doing, I'm not just wasting my time, because it's like gambling now. You can quickly do abstract and title and bring the information together, critically assess it, write it, but it may be accepted and it may also fall short of acceptance too. So, but I'm not saying that is not also possible. It's also possible. You can also decide to approach it that way. But for high impact publishing, I think there is a need to do more by going to because one of the things you are critically assessing is the approach, the methodology. Because, for example, people have been using a particular approach to answer the research question, and you find out based on all the articles you assessed, you realize that there are still some better approaches that may be used, or some recent approaches that may be used. So you'll be able to map what has been done and identify the gaps and suggest in your review that okay, although most of the researchers have been working using this approach so far, but this new approach has a big potential. Maybe only 2 or 3 people have used it and has come out with a very good result. So you are suggesting that other researchers should also consider that. So that can also fly. Anything can fly, actually. In the publication, anything can fly. But we are only trying to see, okay, how can we make sure that what we are doing will attract high impact publishing? So that publication you mentioned, sir, is it depends. Could it be a Q1 article? Could it be a Q2? I'm asking you.
I think the article was just submitted. It has not been published yet.
Okay,
I just saw it like is it a preprint or whatever they call it?
Oh, preprint.
Yes.
Okay. So assuming it has been published, then you can also inform us. Okay, maybe it's also possible, but I doubt it if such will fly in a high impact journal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In absence of more questions, I think we'd like to call on Dr. Lukman Bashiru to give us a closing remark and appreciation.
Thank you very much. As we come to the end of this webinar on demystifying systematic literature reviews for high impact publishing, we would like to express our sincere appreciation to everyone who has contributed to the success of today's webinar. And also, we would like to extend our thanks to all the participants for your time, active engagement, thoughtful questions, and your enthusiasm throughout the section. Your commitment to advancing your research capacity is truly commendable, and we hope the insights shared today will positively influence your future research work. And we also wish to appreciate our facilitator, Dr. Saba, for delivering a clear, insightful, and highly informative section. Thank you, Doc. The depth of your expertise and practical guidance shared today have greatly contributed to achieving the objectives of this webinar, and that we are grateful for. And also, we would like to thank and also appreciate the moderator for the seamless coordination of the program, showing a smooth and engaging flow from the beginning to the end. Thank you very much. We further acknowledge Impeccable Consulting Limited for organizing this webinar as to supporting researchers and academics across all stages of the research journey, from idea conception to publication, through consulting services, capacity building trainings, and academic mentorship. Today's section is a reflection of Impeccable Consulting Limited mission to empower success through impeccable results. Thank you very much for the section, and please, participants, do not forget to fill in the attendance and also things that were shared during the course of this webinar. If you need a certificate, like it was rarely mentioned in the chat, and also the slide, you can request at a fee via the link that will be shared to you through the consulting platform. Finally, thank you once again to all participants for honoring us with your presence. And we also look forward to your continued engagement in future Impeccable Consulting programs. And wish everyone success in your research and publication journey. And don't be relented in consulting, Impeccable Consulting for your research, your thesis, and any other challenges you are facing. You are free to consult with us, and we hope that all your challenges will be addressed at issue. Maybe get to check on limited platform where you have access and information about upcoming seminar very soon. And we have other engagement. Thank you very much, and I wish you success in
Thank you very
Back
much.
to you,
Bye.
moderator, please.
Thank you very much for this closing remark. We thank you all. See you next time.